Why this song is unique.
Hi, I'm Lance.
And I'm Ben.
And we are Klickfoot.
Welcome to episode number 8 of Why This Song is Unique. It's been a few months since we've done one of these. We figured we better get going on that. So today we are going to discuss the song I Wish I Looked a Little Better from the band Sparks, from their 1983 album Sparks in Outer Space.
Leave a comment. Comment on your experiences with Sparks, how you found them, because we just love them.
We love comments.
Yeah, we love comments. We love your comments, what you guys say, because all of you have a different perspective on Sparks, just like we do, how we found them and became absolute lovers of their music, and they're still around.
Now, my first awareness of Sparks came almost 10 years before the Sparks in Outer Space album came out. First was Propaganda for me. This was my introduction. I had another one of their albums, which was Indiscreet, and I also had Kimono My House. And I tried to find those albums. I must have loaned them.
It's hard to believe.
No,
You're such a vinyl collector.
I still have. This was a cutout, and I probably bought it used, obviously. Still had a little bit of a price sticker on it. But anyway, so what do you have to say about this particular album?
All right, on this one, we're in talking about Sparks. Ben has always been like my guide to music when I was young. He had a much larger record collection. I was starving in college. He had parents that actually fed him. And so he was able to buy records, all the things I couldn't do. And so when I'd go over to his house, he'd play me whatever. And I remember him playing me Sparks. I'm pretty sure it was Kimono My House. And me like him going, oh, that's very interesting. But the Peter Frampton Live was out. There was Boston. There was other things that were going on pop radio. So they were on my radar, but I didn't pay that much attention to them until 1979 when Giorgio Moroder got together with Sparks and they made a synthetic album, an album with nothing but synthesizers. I heard that. And at that time, Ben was bringing me the Sex Pistols and
The Clash, the Ramones.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you the first time I ever heard Nevermind the Bullocks, I can tell you where the parking lot was in Pasadena, climbing into his blue car, sitting down, and he goes, there's no solos in this. And I went, what? What kind of music can this be? Because I was into Eddie Van Halen. And he plays me Nevermind the Bullocks, and I was like, holy crap. So in 79, there was a lot going on, but the sound that Sparks made with Giorgio Moroder actually did something that changed music and invented an entirely new style of music. And this is where I get kind of cocky about Sparks. I understand if you don't know who Sparks is. I lived in Pasadena and they didn't live that far from us. I thought they were from Europe. The whole time I watched these guys, I thought they were from England and they were from right down the street.
Well, we got Sparks on KROQ, which
That's
is a
true.
Pasadena, California radio
point.
station. And that station was known for their Euro pop. I mean, the Richard Blade show, Rodney Bingenheimer show. I mean, we were getting all this Euro pop, Pet Shop Boys, Depeche Mode.
That's right.
And then there was Sparks. It's like, well, why wouldn't you? Why would you think any different, right?
It's the absolute truth. But the thing about Sparks, and if you don't know about Sparks, like I said, I understand, because this band changed music, and you don't know who they are. They are so brilliant. If you were to just look at this album cover, this is how smart they were about how they created their imagery. They put themselves in the back of a boat tied up with gags on. Then they put themselves in the back of a car with gags on. And then they put themselves in a bed with a phone still tied up. Their understanding of how to market and what you could learn as a young person listening to what we're talking about, what you could learn for today to improve your position in getting heard, is their ability to market themselves. I'm going to add in one other thing. They did a song with Jane Wyland and
Cool Places.
They invented a dance style. And if you weren't playing in bands in 1982, you would have known what this dance style was. But even Courtney Cox copied it in a Bruce Springsteen video. It was where they wave their arms back and forth. You do this certain style. Well, you couldn't go anywhere in LA, play a dance club, and not have people dancing like the video that Sparks created. So they changed not only music and created the new wave English sound, they changed dance styles. And then to point out, Ron, the lyricist of the band, wrote lyrics that were so interesting, like I Wish I Looked a Little Better, which is the song we'll keep talking about here, that you could not get them out of your head. They got in and they got stuck. And even Paul McCartney made a video where he imitated Ron Mael. Paul McCartney of the Beatles did an homage to Ron Mael by wearing a mustache and a white shirt and a skinny tie. So Sparks had such a major influence, and if you're a kid listening to this, on what you're doing today with EDM, what you're doing today with modern pop music, they are a complete break in 79 with whatever was going on in the world and what happened afterwards. And I will guarantee most people have never heard of them or thought they were English.
Well, they have a cult following.
They do. I'm in it.
And they're still making records.
They do.
2020,
They're
I
over
think.
25 now. 25 albums.
But 2020, the year 2020 was their last album that they released. So they're still making records. They're still legitimate, still a viable band. And these guys have been on the cutting edge of avant-garde ever since the beginning. I mean, the two brothers, amazing. And the music too, not just the imagery. You're talking about the imagery and all that. I get that. But the music that they created was nothing like anything else you've ever heard.
Yeah,
really.
Look around, find 1966 Computer Girl. There were no computers in 1966, yet they're writing a song about Computer Girl. They were so far ahead. And that's why Ben found them, because Ben was always finding stuff that I'd never heard of. It was always very impressive. I remember just greatly enjoying it. Now, I remember working with artists in my studio, and they all lived down by the farmer's market in LA. Well, this turns out to be one of the places that Sparks liked to hang out because they had a coffee machine at one of the Belgian waffle houses. And those people would start talking to me about Sparks, but they had a completely different view than mine because I was a songwriter and I always liked weird. We were both into that. And the weirdness led me to Oingo Boingo, which of all things, years and years later, you don't plan for this, just years and years later, because I listened to Boingo, an opportunity came up for me to play with the members of Oingo Boingo, and I did for a couple of years. Sparks was the influence that got me listening to Oingo Boingo. Anyway, so the point of today's long and lengthy introduction to Sparks, which we are doing because we're pretty sure most of you have never heard of him. I wish I looked a little better. Ron, his brother Russell was just handsome and was the lead singer, but Ron did all the lyric content and sat at a piano and brilliantly played, but he was the statement. He made the statements of what Sparks was. And he had noticed on MTV that if you weren't beautiful, you got kind of pushed to the side, and the beautiful artists got pushed forward. So he writes this song, which is kind of a sad commentary on what MTV in the 80s did. Now, it's gone now. You don't have to worry about it. That doesn't exist. We have YouTube. To have a song about wishing you could look a little better is kind of sad, but such a profound statement for the era. And I can remember walking around my house. I have to double check these because they're not fully in my head. But the lyric in that song says, "We went to Balboa Island and I laid in the sand. I may be ugly as sin, but at least now I have a tan. Whoa, 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 I wish I looked a little better." Once you get that in your head, I'm not kidding, you can't get rid of it. And it's why, if you don't know about Sparks, you need to search out Sparks. You don't have to like their music. Pay attention to how they marketed themselves. Pay attention to how individual they were.
Right.
So different. They
Very true.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't like everything they did, but every now and then, those guys could drop a bomb like, "My baby's taking me home." If you've never heard that song, it's an anthem. It's an absolute anthem it starts with two chords just going back and forth and Russell singing, and you think, well, this isn't going anywhere. This is going nowhere. And you keep watching it and it gets larger and larger and larger. Anyway, like Van Gogh, he sold one painting his entire life. We all recognize Van Gogh as a genius. Sparks is the same way. They may not have ever been on top of everybody's list. They maybe never made as much money as everyone else, but they changed music.
Sure did.
How did you even find them?
You know, living in Pasadena, the manager that we had of our band at the time, his name was Mark Blocker. Rest in peace, Mark Blocker. He's the guy that turned
Ben was in a band called The Gas Moguls.
In a band early,
punk band.
late 70s. Anyway, you got to listen to these guys. And so he brought out.
So Mark did it, huh? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's the guy that turned me on to Sparks. And, I mean, this is maybe 1976,
Yeah.
maybe 77, somewhere in there. But this was music that I had never heard before. This type of music, I just thought it was so odd. It was different. I didn't know anything. Didn't know that these guys were even brothers in the band. Ron and Russell Mael. I didn't know anything about Sparks. We didn't have information like we have today.
Google, yeah.
So he played this stuff for me. He had Kimono My House. He had Indiscreet. He had a couple of the albums that were prior to those.
Propaganda or not that late?
No, well, whatever was,
currently hot, yeah.
Pre-1976, 77, whenever he turned me on to it. He had those albums. Anyway, so I ended up buying some of those albums at Pooh Bah Records in Pasadena.
Great record store.
This is one that I still had. I can't find my other ones. Very disappointing. But I had the cassette, like I said, of Sparks in Outer Space.
And we also have a video called All I Want Is Avocado. And in it, I do an homage to Ron with a mustache and a piano and one eye looking out. I'm pretty sure Sparks is the same way unless you're an intellectual and you understand humor and pop music. And worth checking out if you want to go see a concert with two of the most brilliant guys in the music industry. That's my opinion on Sparks.
Great.
Is that good?
I think we're good.
Well, I'm Lance.
And I'm Ben.
And we are Klickfoot.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Why this song is unique.